Hey y'all, Alec back here, aka High Fitness. This is episode 2 of the Legends We Are podcast with Spencer. First episode, we touched on how he got started, what was that why. Now, this episode is the actions that he actually took to follow through, lose the weight, and how he's been able to manage to keep it off and make that lifestyle change going on past 6 months now. So, looking at it, we're going to look at some data as far as everything he collected and some tracking things that helped him stay successful. So, hopefully, this gives y'all some good ideas as well moving forward. Like, what was the all right? I'm discomfort. I want to be more comfortable. What was the next kind of plan of action from there?
Yeah, so let's see. This was like I said, January. I think I was like, I'm gonna go do something, and so I took some like pictures. Like this is my state now. I weighed myself. I think I was 236, butt naked in the morning without eating anything. Right. So that was my baseline. Like I'm 236, and in the past, so I've lost weight in the past. Like when in 2016 when we got married, Um, I gained a lot of weight, but I was working a job at Walmart where I was always active. We were unloading trucks and pulling pallets and stocking shelves, 6 hours a day for 5 days a week. And I lost like 25 pounds over that summer. And I didn't do anything specific. I was just very active. Whereas, fast forward to like this time around, um, my my general day to day was very sedentary, very inactive. So I had to schedule in some time to get moving because my metabolism was kind of wrecked. Like a couple of years of just going to school, eating wherever I wanted to have enough motivation to keep going to school and then find a job and stuff. So in January, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to do this. And I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself to do it well. And I didn't actually do very much for like the first 6 months. Uh, it kind of flopped, and I think the reason those first 6 months flopped a little bit were because I just tried to do everything all at once. For me personally, I think that didn't work that well. Some people it might work. Like if you have enough motivation, obviously you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't lose a lot of weight or anything during those first 6 months up till June. But I was learning. So I would say my first stage really was like, besides that catalyst, like you mentioned, was learning, right? Talking to you, like YouTube videos, Greg Doucette, and really, I don't even remember the names of anyone else because I kept just coming back to Greg Doucette. Um, and just general things I had learned throughout my life with sports and coaches and biology. So right. So that first 6 months, I tried to kind of just learn, and I was trying to lose weight, but I wasn't doing it very well. I wasn't very consistent. And I honestly don't know what changed, but end of May, beginning of June, I was like, you know what, my goal's not going to be to reach a certain weight anymore because that's not working. My goal is going to be to do this every day. And what that was to get 30 minutes of cardio, to hit a calorie goal that I knew was a deficit, and to do some sort of lifting 5 or 6 days a week. So I was like, if I can just make my goal to be to do that day's worth of work, I could wake up the next day and my goal will just be do that next day's worth of work. Instead of thinking I need to get to 180 or 170, that's possible, 8 months down the line. I think it is good to have goals, but for me in that moment, it was like I needed to just like simplify my goals a little bit and just say I need to do today's days of work, and then tomorrow I'll worry about tomorrow.
Okay. Awesome.
Um,
I want to touch on that really quick. 'Cause that's really, I think, important. So obviously, like, the scale is important. We need to use that to track progress. The depth of how long you're actually, or how many times you're weighing yourself, maybe that's what can vary. Maybe you're just weighing yourself baseline once a week, or kind of whatever helps your mental the most. But when we're looking at, like, what changed is that you decided, you're like, basically you're gonna break it down to a very simple win loss for the day. You're like, I have these set number of goals, these micro goals, and if I do this, I won today. If I didn't, I lost today, and that's okay. I mean, we want to try and win as much as we can, but if you have an 80% win rate, you're killing it. And then the important part of that is I think what you said is that's what allowed you to change your mindset, and what for you allowed you to be more successful, instead of looking at this giant weight loss number that, yeah, you still had that number. You're like, I want to reach this, but hey, I'm going to take a step back, and here's the steps that I need to be doing first before I even consider that. It's kind of like for school, first you had to complete, high school before you had to get your GED before you can go to college, and then you have to complete your bachelor's before you can complete your master's. So there's like these kind of steps that you need to take. You can't just jump from one to the other. Obviously, there's fringe cases where, yes, you're going to have people that are excelling in certain areas, and like you said, that does change things. But most importantly, you made a pivot, and you changed your mindset to what worked best for you and what allowed you to get results, to make it more of a sustainable switch, rather than that kind of crash yo-yo style dieting where you can maintain your weight loss over a long period of time.
Yeah, like I think pivot's a good word, because I didn't like change my long term goals, but I kind of like, it's almost like I wrote them down and like locked them away for a little bit and just focused on short term goals that I had learned from experts that would lead me towards those long term goals. Like I weigh myself every day, but instead of having the goal of seeing it as a lower number, my goal was just to weigh myself so that I would have it recorded. And instead of my goal to be to lose 60 pounds over the next year, it was, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z today and tomorrow and the next day, right? Each day. And I've been taught that X, Y, and Z will lead me to lose weight if I just keep doing it. And that helped me a lot, because then I was able to just be consistent, like you said, with just trying to win that day. And I recorded it for like 3 or 4 months. Maybe I can show you the things I recorded.
Yeah, let's take a look at that, just to kind of give people a feel. Like there's a lot of apps that you can use to record stuff, or like you use like Excel. I mean, there's $1 million companies built off the backbone of Excel. It's a really great tool that can be utilized. So let's take a look at that. Let's see what that's looking like for us.
Yeah. So this is literally just like a Google sheet, and obviously it looks like there's a lot here because I did it for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, this was my mindset. I was like, I know I need to be in a calorie deficit, but if I get too much of a calorie deficit, I can wreck my metabolism, or I can lose energy, and just kind of peter out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and looking back, this is probably more than I even needed to worry. But this is what I did because this is what I thought I knew, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
and it helps you focus, right? I mean, because that's the most important thing, is like, it may have been over the top, but it allowed you to invest in it, and it gave you like there's a lot of satisfaction that you can get just from like checking off a box, and you having your protein, your carbs, your fat, and like making it fun, because your degree is in stats, so like you made it something. Obviously, like, stats for you is there's a level of it that you enjoy, so you were able to utilize what you enjoy to kind of dive into this maybe in a little more detail than someone else would. But the most important thing is it made it fun for you, and that's what allowed you to keep going, and it made it kind of like a project. It didn't just make it like, oh man, I got to do this. You're like, all right, I did this today. Let's enter in the numbers. Let's take a look, and let's see what happened.
yeah, I mean, being able to visualize, you know, so like, maybe just this is a good example. If you notice, this started on June 1st. So this is already me, like 5 or 6 months of me trying to lose weight. And I told you I was 236 in January, and after 6 months I was at 229. 1 pound a month it's progress, but it wasn't what I wanted to be seeing. And so what I did, I over those 6 months I kind of got a feel for how many calories was like maintenance for me if I was working out a little bit, and that was about 25 to 2800, uh, just depending on how much I moved that day. And so I knew, I was like, if I'm at 2000 or below, I'm going to be in a deficit no matter what. And so I projected out, I'm going to start at 2000 and move it down a little bit over, like, week over week. So these last few weeks, it's a pretty big deficit at 1700. And then all I told myself is I'm going to keep track of my calories as best I can. Be pretty strict, but obviously it's not possible to be perfect with that. So I just used MyFitnessPal and logged my calories and how many grams of the macros I had because I was shooting for a goal of like 30% protein. And you told me a few weeks in, you're like, I think your protein's a little low. Maybe it was even just a weekend. Yeah, my protein was like 130 grams a day. And I had been mentioning that I was feeling kind of tired, not really up to my workouts. And I actually started boosting my protein goal to 40% after that. And I felt a lot better when I moved from the 30% of my diet being protein to 40%.
Yeah, protein's definitely critical, and it's one of those things where like you never want to overeat, but if you're feeling hungry, you always want to start with a protein first because it's just a really good foundation that if you're eating a good source of protein, you might have some fats accompanied with it, but you're really just getting good basic macronutrients that you need, and it's not going to transition into weight gain as long as you're being responsible with it. So tell me a little bit about what the on your workout and 30-minute cardio. What's up with the green and the red, the blue or the yellow? What do kind of those colors mean to you?
Yeah, so like I said, I had like a set of just basic. I need to do this today or every day, and that was to record record it. That was one goal, just to record all of this. The other goal was to make the calorie goal. The other goal was to have the percent protein goal. So like at first it was 30, then it was 40. But with these working out goals, I had written down like on a pull day, I'm going to do these exercises, right? Rows and lat pulls and bicep curls. And so if I did those exercises that I had written down beforehand, I gave it green for the lifting. Some days I planned to not work out. Like this day, I planned to not lift, and so I gave it green. The 30 minutes of cardio is, if I got the 30 minutes, it was green. If I missed the 30 minutes, it was red. And I started giving myself uh, blue if I did like a ton of cardio that day. Like let's say I went to the gym, like or maybe not even strictly cardio, but like I kind of went over and beyond that day. Like let's say I went and played 3 hours of volleyball.
Yeah.
I gave it a blue. So you see those on Saturdays a lot because
Yeah.
what I ended up kind of doing in my head was like, if cardio is blue, I'm allowed to go over by a little bit on my calories. That's what I did because
That makes sense.
in those 6 months before, like I felt like I learned a lot of things. Like I would try to meet my calorie goal still, even though I had worked out a lot. And like the next day, I had no motivation to do anything because I had no energy. I just felt sick. Like I ate 1,600 calories when the day before I played 3 hours of volleyball. It's like didn't really make sense. And so I started giving myself little passes. Like if I got a blue on my cardio, I could eat more that day. So that's what the blue means. I think those are the only colors. Yellow is like I started giving yellow if I didn't do it, but there was like a good reason to not do it or something.
Okay. So I mean, I like that because you're adding in like this is what's making it a lifestyle change, right? So that's where we can utilize working out. We can utilize tools. We can utilize all these different things that actually allow us to um, be successful with long term changes that we're doing. And a lot of that, what that's going to mean is that hey, I know that I'm going to go be playing a lot of volleyball, or I know that I'm doing this, or, um, you know, I know that I have a family thing coming up. So maybe the day before, I'm going to hit some extra cardio, and I might even utilize like some intermittent fasting where maybe I don't eat breakfast and lunch, and I save a lot of my calories for the dinner that evening. And one thing that's been really helpful for me, and a tip that Mark Bell talks about a lot is pre-eating. So like if you know you're going to like a barbecue with your family, eat like you know, eat like 50, 60 grams of protein, maybe 20 grams of carbs, just a nice like solid meal. And then when you get there, you're not starving. And then when you get there, make the best decisions you can. But like you're gonna have fun because we should enjoy life and we shouldn't let food get in the way. And there's a lot of things that you can do that actually allow you ability to do that. So
You might only have like one slice of pizza instead
yeah,
of half the pizza.
or like, hey, maybe I eat some hamburgers, but instead of eating 5 hamburgers with 5 buns, maybe I eat one hamburger with one bun, and then I eat 4 more patties with some cheese on it.
Yeah.
And so like stuff like that, and that's one thing that I really like that you started kind of realizing when yourself through tracking. You're like, all right, blue days I killed it, red days I missed it this day, and yellow you're like I missed it, but there's a reason why. So for that you can like go back and you're like, that's where like when you're reviewing you're like, okay, I missed it on this day, and maybe someone else or you in the future you could make a note to yourself, like maybe you could do, I don't know, maybe you could just do like some abbreviations or something to help trigger your memory, but you could just like, this is why I decided to miss it that day, and then you can go back and be like, all right, I ran this, we'll just say like 9 week program or 10 week program, or we can just make it simple, call it 12 weeks. I ran this 3 month program, and after I did that, let's go back and review on those yellow days. Was it like legitimate and it's cool, I just missed it, or was it like I slept in for 45 minutes because I just didn't feel like getting up? Is that something I can change? So that way it allows you to, you have that information, so now you can go back and make those changes, which
Yeah,
I think
have like
is
this
pretty cool.
weird. I have this weird like perfectionist thing where if I feel like I'm not making my goal too many days at a time, and I think this is my problem in the past was I would just like, I'm not cut out for this, like, and I'd lose motivation.
Yeah.
And so giving myself some leeway on that, say like, yeah, my goal was made because I changed my goal, and it sounds like cheating when I put it that way, like you just changed your goal and then you made it so you made your goal.
Yeah.
But I was still pretty strict about it. Like it had to be a good reason, right? And being able to see that I was making my goals through this visual really helped me keep going, because it's not like tracking things like this is some cheat code that makes it easy, right? It was still incredibly difficult, but I needed that motivation, every little ounce of motivation to keep going. And over 3 months, I lost like 20 pounds. And over the next month, I lost another like 5-10 pounds. And so now I'm sitting around 200, debating maybe I should do this again and try to get down to like 15% body fat.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's important, right? Because like what you said there is like, you're not cheating, but you're using the data that you collected to make a realistic goal and a realistic plan to meet your lifestyle that allowed you to maintain that lifestyle. So you're like, I'm going really hard on Saturdays. I know that I'm going to be going hard on Saturdays. I'm going to eat some more calories on that day. So I feel better while I'm playing, so I enjoy my performance more. But then also I feel better when I'm recovering afterwards. So that way you don't get into the aspect of, oh man, I went hard on Saturday. Man, I'm kind of feeling sore on Monday. You know what? I played 3 hours of volleyball. I'm good. I don't need to work out on Monday. But keeping your goals in mind, you're like, okay, well, I feel good after playing now. So Monday I'm going to go work out so I can continue to feel good. So you can continue that that ball of success. And I think the most important thing is, even though now you've transitioned to, you're not as actively like, right now you're just in a very baseline maintenance phase where you're maintaining, and you might even still be slightly losing, just on a decelerated pace, which is perfect. I mean, because the majority of Americans live in an accelerated weight gain for their whole life. Very, you put on a couple pounds, 5, 6, 7 pounds a year, 10 years, you're up 70, 50, 70 pounds. That's a significant amount of weight. Especially going into later parts of life where that's extremely dangerous. So I really like the kind of pivot that you made halfway through the year. You're like, hey, this goal isn't working for me. Now it's the end of the year. You've maintained the weight that you lost. And going back to saying you felt like you were cheating, it may, like, that wording I can understand where some people might not understand it until they've actually done it. But whatever they want to say, obviously it worked because you were still losing weight, and at the end of the day you still have kept that weight off. Your knees feel better, your wrists feel better, you're able to go and play volleyball a lot more. Yeah. And you're able to play it at
Saturdays.
Yeah, you're able to play it at a lot higher of a level.
like I'd play Saturday for a few hours, and then like I literally would need the whole week off to play the next Saturday. Whereas now I could play on a Friday and a Saturday, um, and then like by Monday I'm feeling fine. Just with a 30-pound difference.
Yeah, I mean, and I play volleyball with you, and I see like you're jumping higher, you're performing better, and when you land, you're not landing so tenderly. You're just playing and enjoying playing and not thinking about, because before, like, you know,
Survival.
but before I would watch you play, and like, you're still performing, but every time you were making a play that required a little bit more additional effort, you could tell, like, beforehand and afterhand, you were considering if it was worth it because you knew it was going to cause pain. Where now you're just like, you go and make the play that you need to play, and you're able to enjoy it. And I think that's the most important thing, and I appreciate you kind of sharing that intro into it, and maybe, if you decide you want to push yourself and get a little leaner, maybe we can come back and talk about like the more serious, where it's going to require a lot more structure to get down to that
Yeah.
15%.
'Cause
But yeah,
I'm in the
it's
low
definitely been
20s.
interesting.
I'm definitely in like the low 20s, 22 to 24. Obviously big improvement over 30, 33%. But yeah, that like next bit, uh,
It's
I don't always want to be in like this phase of like I have to be losing weight.
Yeah.
So I do want to get to like a nice maintenance phase, and I don't think I'm quite there yet. Um, and then once I'm there, just live my life, right?
Yeah.
But I always in the back of my mind like maybe I should just really go for it in a few years, try to get shredded.
I mean, and that's kind of the fun, right? Like, you find a spot where you're comfortable, and then you're like, you know what? The physical aspect, yeah, it'll be cool to look shredded, and it'll be cool to see, like, it'll be cool to be lower body weight, and I can dunk at an older age, like just cool goals like that. But I think the cool thing about that is like mentally, right? Because that's the main thing, is like getting down to that low of a body fat percentage. Yes, there's physical components, but it's basically all mental, because it's the mental decision of, am I going to stick to it, and am I going to stick with it long enough and be consistent long enough to do this with the food and with the working out. So I mean, I think it'd be really cool. And there's like, I definitely have some goals like that, where I, like, for me, I'd really like to see myself at like 190 just for like fun, because I mean, gosh, I think the last time I was under 200 pounds was probably like, I don't know, like 7th or 8th grade. I mean, it's probably been like 12, 13 years. I've always been a heavy kid, so there's definitely goals where you're like, this is the goal where I want to be happy, but then you're like, I think it'd be cool just to get down here to see how I feel, because who knows, maybe I would feel good there. I don't know, because I've never been there in a
like you
purposeful
100% know
meaning.
that like getting to like a ridiculously shredded state, you won't feel good, because that's like,
yeah,
your body's not meant to have that low body fat. But like, you don't know if you could maintain a good like 12% body fat.
Yeah, because I've never tried it, right? Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a fat kid at heart, and that's my my genetics, but it's like, how much of it is genetics? And obviously, yes, there's a genetic factor into it, but like, the human body's amazing, and it adapts in really cool ways. So let's see what's off, because I feel comfortable knowing, I think 210 to like 220 is probably where I would probably feel good. I'd feel really strong. Yeah. But for me,
with your muscle mass especially.
Yeah, and for
you got
me,
them guns.
I think I would want to get down to 190 and then try a powerlifting competition, just see like, how does my strength feel below 200 pounds for fun. But yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing your journey with me a little bit. I know it's kind of can be tough sometimes talking about it, and I really liked how you utilized your YouTube and social media, and kind of use that to help have some accountability on a level like that.
I mean, for anybody watching, if you want to get more details of like, I mean, I gave a little overview, but if you want more details, I have like 10 or 12 episodes on my YouTube channel about my progress as I win. And that's the YouTube channel in the image.
Yeah, and Spencer, he's a big fan of playing Rocket League and some Valorant. So you can go follow him on Twitch if you want some late night chill, just kind of hanging out. It's a lot of fun. All right, thanks so much for tuning in there. That sums up a little recording session we had with Spencer, talking about his kind of start to finish and where he's at now. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the details of what he went through, like he said, go ahead and check out that YouTube video there. He's got about 10 to 12 parts where he's kind of talking a little bit about what he did. I appreciate y'all. If you got any feedback, let me know. If you have some good ideas of how to track, let me know. One thing that I've used really well throughout my tracking is the First Form app. I'll have a link for it down below. It's a really great tool, has really good beginner exercises and a lot of good tools for utilizing tracking your food as well.